Hello everyone. Last week we finished MCP. This week we are going to learn how to evaluate the responses we get from the large language models. We are sending prompts and then receiving responses, but we also need to make sure they are relevant and they are factual. There are a couple of ways to validate that, so let's look at that today. There's no code changes. We don't need other dependencies. We can work with Spring Boot test dependency with this one. We don't need to add anything. We can just leverage that. The interface we need to know is evaluator. This is what we implement to get the required evaluation done. So there's one evaluate abstract method and then default method. So there are a couple of classes already implemented. Let's look at them. Relevancy. So this implements evaluator and it writes its own evaluate, overrides evaluate. You can go over this one. I'll just go over. These are already written evaluators. This is relevancy, how relevant the answers are, and there's factual. It's the same. This is for evaluating the fact. You can go over these classes. These are the base classes for today's work. So let's go into what I wrote. So this is made from main branch. There's no changes, just controller making calls to get the response. I did not change any of these things. So if you go to this client and then you go to configuration, one thing we have to do, this is basic configurations, and then in the service class we have the setup and using that. The one thing we have to change is in the resources. We have to use the Facebook Minicheck model because this is better at evaluating the responses. It works with the ones we were working with, but it's not really better at doing this, so use this model for that, or you can use paid version of any models that works better, but with the open source this was best. So let's go and see how we do the relevancy test. This is basic unit test setup. Spring Boot, this instance and lifecycle, this is per class, and then test property, this is for OpenAI, and then logging label. These are basic things. Then we are auto wiring chat model, and the service class we are going to evaluate because that's where we are getting the data, and then evaluator is the one where we will inject the client builder. And test is similar to unit testing. We are giving 30 seconds here because it goes and requests the response from the LLM, and what we are doing is getting this response, right? And then in the request we are sending prompt and response. This is, if you go to the evaluator, you will see you have passed the evaluation request. Then you can get the evaluation response with relevancy evaluator, then use the method evaluate that I showed you earlier and send the request. Then you can assert in some of the things. The response is not, the LLM responded with not blank, and then the evaluation response passed. You can go and look at the implementation, what is passed, all those things right here. It is just returning true false. This you can go and look what are the things there. The other thing we use is, so this is just validating if it is true. The other thing we use is the score, relevancy score, how relevant the response is, right? Here I'm using 0.7 just to have, since you know the responses are not deterministic, so just try. This is based on the project, so the score can be 1 or 0.7 or any of those things. 1 is the highest one, so what we are saying is it at least needs to be 0.7. You can do other tests also as per the requirement. This is basic thing I'm showing how to write tests. There's nothing new. This is similar to unit testing. So this tests the relevancy of the answer. So if I run this test, you see it brings up the Spring Boot application and makes the call. You can see that. So you can see here queries what it passed. So the query was what is the capital of France, and it gave the answer Paris, and this is what it is going to evaluate and show you if it is relevant. So here it will show you, right, the two options to answer, either yes or no, all those things. What is the, this is the query, this is the response, answer, context, answer is this one, yes, right, this is the answer we got. So when it does relevancy.evaluate, that's what we get, and based on that it passes or fails the test. So let's look at the fact also. So relevancy is how related it, right? It can say Paris is the capital of France, or the capital of France is Paris. You know, the structure of sentence can be different, but it is still relevant to the question, right? So similar to that, you can do the fact check, how factual the data is, right? So if you run the test, so this passed also. So if we go look at the respond with yes, these are the prompts it wrote, and here is the summary, Christopher Columbus, and then what we claimed is Christopher Columbus. That's why it's true, right? It says true. So let's go and try to change just to see if the test is actually working, right? So here in the claim, I'll do something John Baptist. Let's try, let's see what it does. So if I rerun the test, so it failed, right? Obviously that's not true. Our claim is not true and response was different. If we go here and it says response, consider or discovery America is somewhat complex and all those things, and then in summary Christopher Columbus is the correct one, right? Then so the expected result was true, but it came as false because this is false. So the test worked, right? This is simple. This is very simple use case. You can use this for your actual use case that you would be using. You can do this check for every request coming in using AOP and all those things. So try this out. You can, this is very important to write tests, otherwise you'll be giving wrong answers. The LLM can, you know, hallucinate and just talk about different things. The fact, it might not be factual. It's just like a movie giving very fancy answers which is not true. So this is really important. Try out. The code will be in the GitHub. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comment. Bye.